Here.
Vernon. Here. Showtie absent. Got a proclamation honoring the life of dedicated Baser resident. Oh, we better do this. Okay, everybody stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Proclamation honoring the life of dedicated Baser resident and community volunteer Charles Chuck Wilderson, April 22nd, 2023, Earth Day 2023. And from now on out, every Earth Day in City of Baser is also going to be known as Chuck Wilderson Day.
Proclamation honoring the life of dedicated Baser resident and community volunteer Charles Chuck Wilderson. Whereas on April 7th, 2023, the city of Baser lost Charles Chuck Wilderson, a dear friend, business owner, dedicated community volunteer, and a person of wisdom all about Baser. And whereas the longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and community alike, Chuck's knowledge, volunteerism, care, and business experience were felt and appreciated throughout the city for many years. And whereas Chuck never knew a stranger, he loved to talk about his beloved community and how much it has grown. He especially loved to bring the joy of the Christmas season by helping pick out a good Christmas tree. His memory will be kept in the hearts of all things Baser and those who have been uplifted by the power of his example. And whereas the community has lost an incomparable bank of facts about Baser, as well as a man of great faith, a great storyteller, and humble servant to his community. And while Chuck is no longer with us, he belongs to the ages. And whereas it falls to us to carry forward the example that Chuck set to make decisions guided not by hate, but by love of community and volunteering, to never discount the difference that one person can make and to strive for a future that is worth of one's dedication for community. For now, we pause and give thanks for the fact that Chuck lived and remember him as a man who took his faith and knowledge of Baser history in his hands and made sure to share his wisdom by telling all.
Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Dick Drennan, Mayor of the City of Baser, and on behalf of the Baser City Council and the citizens of Baser, honor Mr. Chuck Wilderson's memory and hereby proclaim all Earth Days moving forward in the City of Baser to be known as Charles Chuck Wilderson Day. In witness whereof, I set my hand and have affixed the great seal of the City of Baser, Kansas, this 3rd day of May in the year 2023. And there's some family here. Can you come up and we'll get some pictures taken?
Oh,
Proclamation number 2, City of Baser Kindness Day, May 19th, 2023. Sherry?
whereas our daily lives are filled with so much information regarding crime, violence, and disaster, often causing feelings of helplessness and low self-esteem. And whereas the many daily acts of kindness that occur in our Baser community are largely inconspicuous and unobtrusive, Kindness has been shown to increase empathy and compassion and self-esteem. And whereas by recognizing these acts of kindness, all members of our Vaser community will be made aware of the importance of being kind to others throughout the year. And whereas by having a Vaser Kindness Day, it will show the Vaser community members how they are loved and how important they are in this world. Kindness is easy to spread. In hopes that having a Vaser Kindness Day, it will create a kindness chain reaction and encourage people to be or do something kind every day. And whereas the purpose of Vaser Kindness Day is to remember the simple day-to-day acts of kindness that enable our Vaser community to be a kinder, safer, and more secure place to live, work, and play. And whereas Vaser Kindness Day will be celebrated on Friday, May 19th, 2023. And whereas Mrs. Shoup's fourth grade class at Vaser Greyhawk Elementary School will celebrate this day with the Vaser community and fellow Vaser Linwood students. And whereas I encourage all citizens in the city of Vaser to participate in spreading kindness and practicing respect, generosity, patience, and consideration of others at all times.
Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Dick Drennan, Mayor of the City of Vaser, Kansas, hereby proclaim May 19th, 2023 as Vaser Kindness Day. In witness whereof, I set my hand and affix the great seal of the City of Vaser, Kansas, this third day of May in the year 2023.
Mayor, I think our students may have some things they would like to read
Oh,
to the
okay.
council before
Sure.
you do your photos, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Please.
Maybe just move that mic down a little bit. Yep.
Too short
There
for
you
this.
So I have six of my students with me tonight. I have Connor, Damian, Katie, Sawyer, Everett, and Amelia. And they're pretty excited about Vaser Kindness Day, and this is a really exceptional opportunity for them to be able to attend a council meeting, but also to be able to say a few words to you. Okay. go ahead. They'll be brief.
We feel that Vaser Kindness Day is an important day in Vaser because it encourages people to do kind acts for each other, and it helps the community members feel happy and supported. With a happier and kinder community, it is easier to work together and solve problems. Neighbors are more likely to become friends, and the kindness and support between them build a stronger community.
When people feel happy, supported, they work harder, are more confident, have more friends, feel happier, and also do more kind acts for others.
If you do something kind for someone, they are more likely to do something kind for someone else. Kindness becomes a chain reaction, and that chain reaction can be very powerful for a community. Simple acts of kindness can impact the community in positive ways. There are many ways you can help others on Vaser Kindness Day and all year long. You can hold the door for someone, say thank you, tell someone to have a good day, help someone carry their groceries, give someone a compliment, help a neighbor mow their lawn, pick up trash in your neighborhood, and even bake cookies to welcome a new neighbor. We know that kindness shouldn't be just for one day, but it's definitely a great place to start. Please join us on May 19th in celebrating Vaser Kindness Day by doing something kind. Your act of kindness can help our kindness chain reaction keep going. Maybe you will also be gifted the act of kindness. Thank you.
Excellent. Great job.
Good job, guys.
I'm just so excited for this.
Get in front.
Did all the parents that wanted, we want to move closer, did all the parents that wanted a photo get one? Come on back up. Yes, come on down. It's the beauty of a small city. We're pretty flexible here.
Of course.
Thank you, Miss Shu.
Yeah, thank you. See you later. Good job.
That's Kindness Day, right? Now.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
I just go, we don't need to do that.
Mm-mm.
Well, I saw the applicant, there's two applicants, and one, so I think three's
Oh, maybe.
good.
There's Mary.
Yeah. You come around the front. Hey, done. Good. Next proclamation, Municipal Clerks Week, April 30th to May 6th, 2023.
Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of the local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of the neutrality, impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organization. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk.
Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Dick Drennan, Mayor of Basehor, do recognize the week of April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our Basehor municipal clerks and to all the municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent, dated this 3rd day of May, 2023.
Kathy.
Proclamation number 4. Economic Development Week, May 8th through the 12th, 2023.
Whereas communities rely on economic development professionals to promote economic well-being and quality of life. for communities like the city of Basel. That means coordinating activities that create, retain, and expand jobs in order to facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. And whereas economic developers stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism in order to help establish the next generation of new businesses, which is the hallmark of the American economy. And whereas economic developers are engaged in a wide variety of settings, including rural and urban, local, state, provincial, and federal governments, public-private partnerships, chambers of commerce, universities, and a variety of other institutions. And whereas economic developers attract and retain high-quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their regions. And whereas economic developers work with the city of Basel within Leavenworth County, Kansas.
Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Dick Drennan, Mayor of Basel, Kansas, do recognize the week of May 8th through the 20th, 2023 as Economic Development Week, and remind individuals of the importance of this community celebration, which supports expanding business opportunities and making lives better. In witness whereof, I, Mayor Dick Drennan, set my hand and affix the great seal of the city of Basel, Kansas, this third day of May in the year 2023.
Yeah, like all stuff, everything we just said.
Getting your stairs in too much time tonight.
Didn't have to work out today.
No, I wouldn't. want to-
Number 5, National Police Week, May 14th through the 20th, 2023.
To recognize National Police Week 2023 and to honor service and sacrifices of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our community and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are approximately 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in the communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the City of Basel Police Department in Leavenworth County. And whereas since the first reported police death in 1786, there have been more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States that have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas there are 23,785 names of those dedicated public servants engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the 35th National Law Enforcement Officer Memorial Fund Annual Candlelight Vigil on Saturday, May 13th. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officer Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and United States flag should be flown at half-staff.
And now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Dick Drennan, Mayor of Basel, do recognize the week of May the 14th through the May the 20th, 2023 as National Police Week, and further extend appreciation to our Basel Police Department and to all police officers for the vital services they perform in their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent and those that have made ultimate sacrifice in service. In the city of Basel, I urge all citizens to publicly salute the services of law enforcement officers in our community and our communities across the nation, dated this third day of May, 2023. And next, but last, at least, Public Works Week, May 21st through the 27th, 2023.
Connecting the world through public works. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Basehor. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and the children and city of Basehor to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public work programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association and Canadian Public Works Association.
And now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Dick Drennan, do hereby designate the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. In witness whereof, I set my hand and have fixed the Great Seal of the City of Basehor, Kansas, this third day in May 2023. Sorry, didn't. Chief, sir, do we have, how many more people we have outside? Very many? Give me a moment. Okay, thank you. Great.
We got 3 chairs. Call to the public. We accepted a great deal of public comment at our previous work session on April 12th regarding the agenda items on the Falcon Lakes and dedication and Pinehurst rezoning. Before this work session, the Planning Commission considered a great deal of public comment as well. In addition, I, along with council members, received a lot of communication from community members interested in these topics, and we very much appreciate receiving them. With all that said, because the public comment had been previously received and given the large amount of people in attendance this evening, I would like to place some time limitations on public comment. Any person who would like to provide public comment on the Falcon Lake dedication or rezoning matter must wait until the agenda item is up and after staff has provided its presentations. At this point, each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, a brief minutes each. I encourage you all to keep your comments brief to allow others to get a chance to speak.
The total amount of time allowed for these two items will be 30 minutes total time for each item. Is there anyone who would like to provide public comment on any item that is not related to the Falcon Lakes dedication and or rezoning items? Is there anybody online? No? So, okay, and what I'm saying is if once we get done presenting everything on those items, then we'll have the public comment. Instead of doing it in front, okay? Consent agenda. Need a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the consent agenda as posted.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. Vernon?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Any unfinished business at this time?
There is not, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item number 6, PFP 004-22. Consideration of acceptance of public road dedication fairways at Falcon Lakes second plat.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to provide some brief opening remarks on this item and help really frame the discussion for you all as you consider the conversation and the discussion tonight. I want to clarify that you all are not considering whether to accept the plat. That decision has already been made previously by the Planning Commission. That decision remains undisturbed tonight. The plat remains. The only question before you all this evening is whether to accept two dedications. The first one, as you know, is the dedication of the easement for the installed and existing sewer line. The second dedication is the public right-of-way easement related to the knuckle. If the council were to approve the dedication for the knuckle, that means that that particular space would be maintained by the city, snow would be plowed and taken care of by the city. If the council were to reject that dedication, it remains private, but it still exists. It's just a question tonight of whether it is going to be accepted by the city or remain private, and the same goes for the sewer easement as well. And with those remarks, I'll pass it to Crystal Voth, our planning director.
Hi, Crystal.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and council members. Yes, as Maria stated, this evening, we're only discussing the dedication of the sewer easement and the proposed knuckle on this. The subdivision plat itself has already been determined by the city council. So we've gotten quite a bit of feedback, as I think we all know. And there have been a few questions about specifically sewer easements. And Cameron, if you could go ahead and pull up, we prepared a few exhibits for you to take a look at because we've received questions and comments that easements should be along lot lines. And while that is typically true, when we establish easements along lot lines, that's usually for things like cable and electricity. Sewer lines, as you all are very well aware, Cameron, if you could go ahead and just go down to the photos that you prepared. Sewer lines, as you are well aware, are gravity fed. And so sewer lines kind of go where sewer lines need to go. And so they are not always going to be along the front of property lines or neatly along the sides of properties. They're going to sometimes be in backyards, or, they might go diagonal through a property. We've also received a number of comments about whether or not driveways should be constructed over the top of sewer lines. And again, as Maria stated, this is an existing sewer line on this 2-lot plat. The sewer line does already exist, so it's just an easement that we're talking about. So we have some photos here, and the green line in these maps are our sewer lines. And you can see that we have driveways constructed over the top of sewer lines frequently. You will also notice that it's not necessarily, right at the front of the property line. Again, the sewer lines are located where it's where it makes the most sense. So that was one, condition or one comment that we've received. So we wanted to go ahead and address that so that, we can talk about it if we need to talk about it, but just to make sure that the governing body is aware that this is a very common thing, not just in the city of Basehor, but, in communities everywhere. And then further, and Cameron, if you'd scroll back up to those, the knuckle that we have discussed, you will see we have a few exhibits here of knuckles throughout different subdivisions in the city of Placer. Again, this is a fairly common feature that is used. It's typically used in order to maximize the number of houses that you can get on a parcel and make sure that they all have appropriate access to a roadway. Which is what is being proposed in this the 2-lot plat that again has already been approved, but the knuckle is what was proposed to provide access to the homes that are being proposed to be built there. I will not belabor any points. I will certainly answer any questions that you may have.
Does anybody have any questions for Crystal?
Just to confirm 2 things on the vote. So on the cul-de-sac, the vote would be to either make it public so that the city would take care of snow removal and any maintenance for the area later, or it would have to be private. So we're not voting if it's going to be developed. It's just whether it's public or private. Okay. And then for the easement, the sewer lines are already there. Okay. So, yes, a vote, would that mean that the city, if there would ever need to be repairs, say in 10 years or something, that gives the city access to get in there and fix like a leak or something?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I think that
Did it,
kind of helps me a little bit.
Vernon?
So if the city adopts this, the city is responsible for the maintenance, responsible for tearing up the ground, and responsible for fixing it back as much as possible to where it was at before.
If it is accepted by the council.
Yes. Okay. So it's not on the homeowner.
Then I'm sorry, the knuckle.
I
portion?
want to make sure that the cost
Okay.
of doing this is not on the homeowner. If we have to go in and repair sewer line, it's not gonna cost the homeowner any monies.
Yes, that's correct. I don't know if Kristen will have some additional comments, but that's fine.
Anything else, Vernon?
No, that's it.
Okay, Ben?
Nope.
Hayden?
We're not leaving.
Okay. I'll open it up for discussion then. Does anybody here from Falcon Lakes wants to speak? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, state your name and your address, please.
Crystal Smith, 4820 Clubhouse Drive. As far as the very last comment that you all had, where you said that the homeowner was not going to be responsible. That's the opposite of what they established at the planning commission meeting. They were saying that the homeowner would be responsible for that driveway. They were going to put it on the faceplate of the something or other. So that's different than what we heard at the planning commission meeting. This knuckle right here that you're using as an example is 40 foot from the driveway before it intersects to Augusta Drive, which is an additional 25 feet. The knuckle that's on the proposal is no more than the city easement line at 10 to 15 feet before it intersects with Clubhouse Drive, which is the main street through Falcon Lakes. I just don't think that any cars can maneuver through there appropriately. It's going to become a turnaround point for Clubhouse Drive. There's no guest parking, and Clubhouse Drive again is the main street. So those houses that are on the proposal have nowhere for their guests to park unless they're going to completely fill their driveway. There's no specifics on what if these lots are sold to a builder, they're going to design and build the driveway that's appropriate for their budget, that's going to meet their needs. I don't know when we decided that we could tell somebody that they had to maneuver a certain direction to exit their driveway. So it's just unreasonable to believe that someone's going to be backing into that tight space to pull forward out onto the main road. So I don't think it's a safe plan by any means with the amount of traffic. That's a 30-mile-per-hour road across Clubhouse Drive. They did a traffic study just a few months ago on Falcon Lakes Drive. The average speed limit was 36 miles per hour with 800 trips a day. Clubhouse Drive is virtually the same. They intersect through the subdivision and meet both of the major roads. And the city sewer line crossing across the entirety of the backyard. It just places the whole thing. Wasn't supposed to be done in the first place. That's why it was defined and left that way. If you go out there and look at the topography of that lot, you can clearly see the city sewer line. Who knows if it's actually, because of the way the gravity flows with that. I don't know how far it's buried down in honesty. So I guess, you know, we're liable to find out. So, but this is a bad plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Okay.
My name is Lucas Smith. I live at 4820 Clubhouse Drive. In the picture they just showed, all of the sewer that ran under those driveways were 8-inch pipe, PVC pipes. The main sewer that runs clearly through the lot, those are 24-inch. Like she said and stated earlier, it's gravity fed. So it goes exactly where the land says it goes. Who knows how deep it is buried. And then the knuckles that were put on here clearly are shown in the proper use at a dead end or two intersecting streets. Both pictures they decided to show were knuckles used properly. I mean, clearly they did not show you the picture of the knuckle. And I wouldn't even call it a knuckle, I'd call it a dangerous bump out because it doesn't even remotely come close to the same size as that. Clubhouse Drive is a busy street, like my wife had said. Access to the clubhouse, semis, the shop, the golf course shop is between Falcon Lakes Drive, and so they have to drive back and forth. So it's nonstop golf equipment, nonstop traffic. People are going to use that as a turnaround. I mean, I just think it's a bad idea for the city to take responsibility of something that clearly isn't even enough. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm behind the tree line. And I agree with the sentiments of my neighbors. I also wanted to see how, once you, if you do approve, the knuckle and, the sewage, I don't know how that's gonna affect, the neighborhood around the tree line. If, let's say, for example, there's some stipulation on the, how the filter or, owner of that lot is going to build and, construct, through and around the sewage line. So I don't know how that's gonna affect our area there. I was just, I wanted to.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? No one else is there, so we'll move on. I'll call for a motion.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could ask a couple
Absolutely.
I have a
questions.
question too.
Oh, sure.
So on the driveway repair costs, because I had a different understanding as well, that maybe the question was about the knuckle, but if we have to dig up the sewer to maintain the sewer and the driveways over the top of that, who covers the cost of the driveway repair replacement?
I'm sorry for that confusion. I thought we were talking about the knuckle. I'll let Crystal answer that. I was not at the planning commission meeting for this particular discussion, so she could relay what was conveyed.
Councilmember, yes, the planning commission was concerned about the city having to bear the cost of repairing the driveway. And so they did request that a note go on the face of the plat that stated that in the event that the driveway had to be removed for repair, that it would not be the city's responsibility to repair the driveway back to the same standard, and that would be on the property owner. That was a concern that the planning commission had, and they recommended that request.
Okay.
Or that, excuse me, that restriction.
Thank you. And then what is the process for the depth of bury confirmation at that location? Is there anything to be done before construction can begin to ensure the sewer line is buried deep enough? Sorry.
Yeah, I think the depth of that sewer main through there
was approximately 12 foot deep. So they would have plenty of elevation to construct a full basement as well.
Anything else? Sherry?
And I have two more questions.
Sure.
One is, will the owner be made aware that if the sewer would ever have to be worked on, is it going to be in the paperwork that they'll sign when they purchase the property or build the house, that this driveway would be their responsibility to replace?
Yes, it will be a restriction on the face of the plat, which should come up in title work, and yes.
Okay,
It will be available for the homeowner to know that that restriction is placed there.
okay. And then my other question is, there was some discussion about the width of the cul-de-sac and, cars accessing that. Would a city snowplow be able to get through that based on the width right now?
Councilmember Standiford, Mr. Brad Burton, the city's acting engineer, is actually available via Zoom. And
Okay.
he has some information about the knuckle that he may be able to help you answer.
Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Brad Burton with GBA. We provide engineering review for the city of Basehor. Specific to your question on the snowplow, that may be a Gene Miracle question. The applicant shown how the vehicles would be able to transition through that area. And so from a snowplow standpoint, it looks like that would be, the dimensions on it would work for them. Did I answer your question?
I couldn't hear very well. If someone could.
Brad, if you could speak a little bit louder, that'd be great. We're going to work to resolve the audio on our end, but if you could speak a little louder, that'd be super.
Okay, I'll just
And if you could,
start
if
over.
you could, yeah, if you could repeat what you said, that'd be super.
Yeah, I'm Brad Burton with GBA. We provide engineering review for the city of Basehor. I would ask if Gene Miracle may have opinion on the snowplow, but the applicant has shown how the service vehicles would be able to transition through the knuckle, the bulb out there, and be able to plow that. It certainly appears that way.
Yes, we would address that as any cul-de-sac with an island in it.
Okay,
Some instances, we have to back drag out and carry it out.
okay,
But yes, it would be easily accessible to remove the snow from it.
okay. Thank you.
And to go back to that cost again. Is this customary for the city to do this? To charge the landowner or the homeowner for repairing sewer lines or something to their property?
Typically, if we run into a sanitary sewer failure and need to do a point repair, the replacement of driveways, yards, or any of that nature is part of the project cost.
But in this case, it would not be.
According to the planning commission statement, you're correct.
So that's kind of unusual. Then.
Everything else, Vernon?
No, I'm done.
In regards to a knuckle cul-de-sac, what do our subdivision regulations state in knuckle cul-de-sacs is to be as far as length, width, and depth?
Councilmember Sims, again, I'm going to defer to Brad on that to help distinguish the difference between a knuckle or a bulb out or an eyebrow, which those are all terms that are used to describe kind of what this is, and that it is not a cul-de-sac. Our zoning regulations do have requirements for cul-de-sacs, but this is not a true cul-de-sac. So I will let Brad give you a much more technical definition than I'm capable of giving.
Okay, the city's subdivision regulations do not address knuckle or bulb outs. They do address cul-de-sacs. A radius on a cul-de-sac from the middle of the cul-de-sac to the back of the curb is to be 39 feet. this particular knuckle is got a radius on it that is 35 feet. But we believe that it provides an acceptable buffer from Clubhouse Drive to the driveways, and that it has enough room in it to be able to maneuver traffic.
Thank you, Brad.
Sherry, did you have something else you wanted to ask?
I don't think so.
Hey,
Not to ask, just a comment, again, I truly appreciate the engagement and agree with some of the concerns, right? But looking back to the history of this, there's been a lot that's taken place to get to this. And again, tonight, the plat is fixed and all we have to decide is if we're going to allow the city to access our sewer line and if we're going to maintain that piece of road that's becoming part of our network. So I agree with a lot of the concerns, but I don't see how we can not access our own sewer line. And that's really what I see as in front of us tonight.
Well, and I know we just accepted that street on Landauer into the city so we can maintain it. So I would have concerns about not having that maintained by the city professionally. And I do want to also say that I do appreciate everyone's emails to me. I did read them all very thoroughly and I appreciate the comments. And I've tried to respond to everyone that I have read them, and I apologize if I happen to miss someone, so.
Anybody else have any more comments? Then I'll call for a motion for PFP 004 22.
Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the public right-of-way dedications for case number PFP 00422, final plat of Fairways of Falcon Lakes, second plat.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
My second.
Call for a vote. Hayden?
Aye.
Ben?
No.
Sherry?
I,
Vernon?
Aye.
Passes 3-1. Moving on to item number 7, ordinance number 876 PRZ 003 22, Pinehurst rezone, PRZ 003 22, preliminary development plan, Pinehurst. PPD 003 22.
Mr. Mayor, this is Ben. I'm going to recuse myself from this agenda item.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you stated, this is both a preliminary development plan and a rezoning request.
So I'm so sorry. Mr. Mayor, the applicant is here. I realize that we have a number of members from the public who presumably are interested in this item. At this point, you do have a council member who is absent, and now we have a council member who has recused himself. So I think it would be appropriate to ask the applicant if he wishes to continue or with this item this evening, or whether or not he wishes to request a continuance of this body.
Right.
So I would defer to the applicant to.
Yes, please.
Sorry, but before we get the show on the road,
No,
let's just
absolutely.
get that out of the way.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I do think, in light of this agenda item and how important it is, I think to the neighbors, to the city, in light of not having a full council, having 2 members gone, I think it would be really in everybody's best interest, either for or against, to have a full council for this particular vote. So I would like to continue until the next meeting, if that's okay.
So now you do understand that there'll be just 4 because Ben is recused himself from.
Yeah, and that's right. He
So-
might recuse himself again. That's
Right.
totally his call, but I think it's important enough, I think, to the neighborhood, to the city in general, that as full a council as possible, I think to make this vote is important.
Okay. You do. So, yes, we just,
It's within your discretion. Mayor.
have a discussion from the council on it.
Well, I know that, full disclosure, again, I won't be here for that next meeting. So we're down again to just 3 of us.
So I don't know if this is helpful or not, but city staff is going to be asking for a special city council meeting in advance of the work session on May the 10th. That was actually going to be paired with item number 12 related to the city hall construction contract. So there would potentially be an opportunity to have to put this item on the agenda next Wednesday at the special city council meeting. And you would have full voting abilities at that special city council
Are
meeting.
you gonna be here May 10th then?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the only one we don't know about is Ty.
I think we have somebody on there that's not muted. If the folks on Zoom could mute yourselves, please. Thank you.
So do we need to check with Ty before we move on or put it down May the 10th?
I think for, again, assuming if the city council is willing to host a special city council meeting next Wednesday, that gives the public that is here, I think, some reasonable notice that this item would be considered next Wednesday. And again, if for some reason you do not have a full voting council, then we're going to be rescheduling this item again.
Okay. So is it okay with everybody if we move it to May the 10th, next Wednesday? Okay.
I'm fine.
I don't know how much we benefit from that. I see some frustration among members of the public that are here to speak to that. I don't know if we could make as informed a decision with a council member missing, but I just want to voice that I see the concern of moving it, and I don't know if maybe there's a way to accept comment this evening in lieu of comment next week. If the item's continued, we have to continue it now before conversation.
Public comment on any of your agenda items is allowed at the mayor's discretion because this does not require a public hearing. This had a public hearing. It did require a public hearing. The public hearing occurred at the planning commission meeting. So at this point, the city council's acceptance of additional public comment is really just an opportunity for you to hear people's concerns or support of projects. If you would like to take public comment this evening and have staff go through the presentation, we can absolutely do that. But the applicant is requesting that this item not be voted on this evening. And then next week you would be faced with the same question in front of you with, are you going to allow people who show up next week to provide comment again? Which you absolutely can do, or you could choose not to accept public comment next week as well.
If the council's open to it, I would lean towards accepting comment this evening and not next meeting, because we had people here willing to discuss it. I have concerns about, to your point, having extended another round of commentary, but if there's interest in presenting this evening and having it.
So if we accept public comment tonight, we're still not gonna vote on it though, right?
Correct.
So what you would do this evening, and what Councilmember Maples is proposing is that staff would provide their staff report and presentation. Then we would give the applicant an opportunity to speak to you as we customarily do, and then you would open it up to public comment per the rules that you provided at the beginning of the meeting, which is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum total time for this item of 30 minutes. Then next week, if this item is on the agenda, we would, at that time, you would be taking motions to vote. And if the council would like another brief presentation from staff, and again, an address from the applicant, we could do that. And then again, it would be up to the council and at the mayor's discretion whether or not you wanted to receive additional public comment next week.
Is there a way that we can get a hold of Ty since he said he might be here late tonight?
I would be happy to step out and see if I can reach him.
Okay.
I would be happy to do that.
I think that'd be best, and that way, if he is on his way in, we could go ahead and move this item on down and then so we can get it over with tonight. So why don't we go for recess for 10 minutes and then try that.
Okay.
But that would also require Mike to reconsider, you know.
I absolutely would. I just think it's important to have as full a council as possible and recognizing that when council members already recuse themselves, I think it's in the public interest. I think that
If Ty's gonna be here, I can.
Right, I'm just saying that it's up to Mike to go ahead and say.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilman Garber had expressed he thought there might be a possibility he could be here this evening, perhaps later. I have not heard back from Councilman Garber since that statement. And, you know, any council member is able to vote and participate in meetings by phone as well. Zoom is certainly an option, but phone is also an option. So if you want to take a 10-minute recess,
Let's do that.
and then obviously don't talk about city business at the dais, but we will take a 10-minute recess and I will see if I can get in touch with Councilman Garber.
Okay. That's good. We're gonna take we will go ahead and allow public comment tonight and then, you know,
We would prefer to have public comment fresh on your minds when you're gonna make.
I-
this decision.
I agree with that. I
Okay.
think it's fair to both the developer and
I-
the individuals. I would prefer that if Mr. Garber is gonna vote, that he would hear everything.
yeah. That's a good idea. So we'll just move everything till next, the tenth and make sure that we have 4 council people here that's gonna be able to vote. Okay?
And Mayor, just in full fairness, we have not reached Councilman Garber, so we do not have confirmation that you will have 4 councilmen here next Wednesday. In the event we don't have 4 councilmen here next Wednesday, we'll be having the same conversation about finding a date that
So,
works. We're going to proceed tonight with this being on the agenda for May 10th. So those of you that are here for this item, come back next Wednesday, but I don't want anybody to be under the impression that he will be here. I haven't been able to reach him, so.
and of course, you can check back with us and my phone number's on the website. Feel free to call me if we know anything for sure. And I will let you know, but I'm sorry, guys. It happens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
See you guys next week. Have a good one, sir.
So Tyler, you're on the 10th?
Well, no, we don't know.
You
We can't
didn't get a hold of him.
Yeah, yeah, so we're gonna. Yeah.
Or proceed on the 10th either way.
Somebody getting Ben to come back.
Yeah.
Ben can come back.
Yeah,
So let-
come on, get Ben.
And let him know to come on back.
All right, item number 10.
At least he doesn't.
Oh, would somebody go get Ben?
From the original, they had like a draft of the agenda items, but then the official agenda was page 3.
No, I'm 10. I'm on item number 10, item number 11.
Right, it was flopped from the original. list
Yeah,
of
they-
items
it
versus
was
the
switched
agenda.
around.
So I just got old information.
Right.
I think there's another agenda in there.
You're looking at the special meeting notice, the agenda, it has which would have been like page 4.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was like,
Now you're looking at the correct notice for the special meeting, which had these items at the bottom of the agenda. The agenda had it, and we're not gonna do special meeting notices that way anymore, but.
okay.
I did the same thing. No, I did the same thing because I called Leslie Friday night and said, what's going on? You know,
Yeah.
so.
All right.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, resolution 2023-05. Consideration of accepting donation of land within the city limits of Baser from Creek Ridge Phase 3 Townhome Association next to Tomahawk Park.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Addie Waldeck, Assistant City Administrator. Included in your packet is a resolution for your consideration that would accept a land donation from Creek Ridge Phase 3 Townhomes Association. As we spoke about in the last meeting, throughout the process of acquiring easements for our Metro Green Trail project, we did work very closely with Pat McGrath, who's here with us tonight. She's the president of that HOA. And the HOA took a vote to one, approve the easements, and secondly, to voice that community's interest in donating that 2.40 acre tract of land to the city that we think would be a great opportunity to sort of expand the open green space next to the site of Tomahawk Park. We did conduct an appraisal, had an appraisal conducted, and that's included in your packet. And we would respectfully request your feedback and consideration of the resolution that's in your packet. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got any questions? Ready on this? Nope, nope, Vernon, no.
No.
Nope, nope. Okay, I need a motion for resolution 2023-05.
Now, is this one of those times when I can say so moved? Or is this one of those times I have to read the whole thing out again?
You can say so.
So moved.
For the initial, it would be better just for the record.
Okay. Just figured I checked. I just figured I checked. Okay. So we need a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to consider accepting donation of land within the city limits of Basel for Creek Ridge Phase, is that the right one? Creek Ridge Phase 3 Townhome Association next to Tomahawk Park.
I have a motion. There a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second the resolution 2023-05.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. Hayden?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Vernon?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Mayor, may I make a quick comment, just for ease and, in an effort to be helpful, I just wanted to point out that in the staff reports now, we've included a recommended motion for you all to refer to, and we've kind of drafted a sample motion for you all, so you could just read off of that if you want to make a motion to vote on something.
Okay,
Wanted to bring that to your attention.
thank you so much. Moving on, item number 9, ordinance number 877, amendment of ordinance related to the possession and maintaining of hens only.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The council considered at the previous 2 work sessions whether to allow hens within the city of Basel. And at the most recent work session in April, staff presented some information from surrounding cities and how they handle hens, whether they allow them and what those regulations were. Many of those jurisdictions do allow hens. And so staff presentation kind of focused on that. Staff at that time was directed to return with an ordinance that would permit hens within city limits. Staff was tasked with determining the precise number of hens that would be allowed. There was a discussion of having it either 6 or 8, and then some public comment related to that. And then staff was also tasked with providing a recommendation for setback and enclosure requirements. And so staff brings tonight for your consideration ordinance 877 that allows 8 hens per residential household. It requires hens to be kept in an adequate shelter in compliance with our city code. And that means that there is an existing provision that controls shelters for animals, and it would control here in this situation. That ordinance requires that the shelters be clean and dry, for example, that excrement be cleaned at least weekly or more often if necessary to reduce odor, control those odors. And it states that animal control officers and law enforcement officers would have the ability to view those shelters and send notice of violation if in their view there is in fact a violation. The ordinance also requires a 15-foot setback. There was discussion between, 10, 15, 20, 20 was perhaps too far of distance, or, some people might not have that much space to the property line. And then the ordinance also requires hens to be kept in the backyard only. And in addition to all of that, prohibits roosters. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, no questions. Just I appreciate all the work on that and
Yeah.
to allow for this with minimally restrictive components. So I like it.
Thank you.
I think it's great.
I need a motion for ordinance number 877.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the ordinance number 877 permitting the keeping of hens on residential property within the city of Basel and providing certain restrictions to such allowance related to the number of hens permitted, setback requirements and enclosures for such animals.
Have a motion to have a second.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Vernon?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Hayden?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 10, resolution 2023-07, elected officials' terms of office.
Good evening again. At the April 12th work session, the council considered what date to select in terms of term of office for elected officials, what day would elected officials be sworn in. State law requires cities to select a date between December 1st and the second Monday in January following the election certification. If you recall, at the previous work session, we provided some information about the dates that other cities have selected. And after that discussion, staff was directed to return with a resolution establishing the term to begin on the second Wednesday in December following the certification of the election. And so the draft resolution before you tonight includes language establishing that particular term. It includes language that the term begins on or after the second Wednesday in December. And the reason it says or after is just to account for any unforeseen issues with scheduling the meeting on that Wednesday, whether it's weather or some other event. But it is for the second Wednesday in December. And so staff recommends that the council approve that resolution, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions for Maria?
Not for me.
Not being
No.
heard? You have it? Oh,
No,
okay.
good on that one.
I'll call for a motion on 2023-07.
So Maria, make sure I get this right this time. Approve resolution 2023-07, establishing term limits of office for elected officials.
It's not term limits. I'm so sorry. It's just terms of office.
Terms of office
Yes.
for elected officials.
Yes, thank you. That would be something
Okay,
different.
so that's what you want us to read, is that,
Right.
right, okay.
It's a recommendation, a recommended motion.
Okay,
I will second.
A motion and second, come for a vote. Sherry,
Aye.
Ben,
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Vernon,
aye.
passes 4-0. Moving on to item number 11, resolution 2023-09, resolution of intent for fireworks funding between the city of Basel and the Basel Community Volunteers, BCV.
Thank you, Mayor Leslie Riverola. The item that you have in front of you this evening is the resolution of intent that would signal to the Basel Community Volunteers that the council has expressed an interest in providing funding for the 4th of July fireworks celebration, beginning with the July 4th, 2024 celebration event. We did attach to the resolution of intent, the draft MOU. Again, it is very much a working draft. Things that would be established as you progress through your budget season would be the amount of funding. And then there may be some other terms that we would continue to negotiate with the Basel Community Volunteers for 2024. And then the MOU would be ready for signature or perhaps your consideration, as well as Basel Community Volunteers, once the budget appropriation has been established. So tonight, you're simply the vote that you would be considering is whether or not you want to provide funding for the Basel Community Volunteers 4th of July event in 2024. I'm happy to answer any questions. We've talked about this one a couple of different times.
Any questions for Leslie?
And I'd be glad to make the motion. Can we go back to that line, please? Okay,
There you go.
it's all right. I've got it. Anyway, Mr. Mayor, this is Sherry, and I move that we approve resolution 2023-09, setting forth the city council's intent to appropriate funding to the Basel Community Volunteers for the July 4th, 2024 community fireworks display.
I have a motion to hear a second.
I'll second.
Motion is second. I'll call for a vote. Ben,
Aye.
Sherry,
Aye.
Vernon,
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Item number 12, information only, City Hall construction contract.
Evening again. This item is for your information only. Staff wanted to provide an update to the council regarding progress towards constructing a new city hall. Bids were received by the city on April 11th, and the city received 4 bids. Staff was generally very pleased with those bids and very grateful for the interest in the project and the participation that the city received.
Okay.
The lowest responsive bidder in those bids was Crossland Construction. They are headquartered in Columbus, Kansas. They do construction projects in Kansas and then in other states as well. They recently helped construct the fire station in Johnson County and then the Overland Park Public Safety Facility, for example. Crossland provided 4 alternates in their bid, which included an EFIS facade, as well as the addition of a solar panel system. In its bid with those alternates, the number turned out to be about 4.1 million, just over 4.1 million, which was below the budgeted amount for City Hall. And so that is why staff was very pleased with that number. So at this time, staff is actively negotiating terms of a contract with Crossland, and it will likely be staff's recommendation to proceed with Crossland for this particular project. And we recommend staff or council's consideration of the contract at next week's meeting on May 10th. We would recommend and request a special session to happen for that. And so I wanted to get some input from the council on whether you approve a special session for that purpose.
Yeah, I'd like to keep it moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Vernon? Yes.
You get to vote on it that way too.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Item number 13, city administrator staff reports. Chief, I'm gonna start with you.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Not a great deal to report. We're finalizing some contracts for 2023. We've been working closely with Maria. We're in the process of trying to get another officer for one, 2 spots that are still open. Participated in the county retreat today. That was actually a very enjoyable experience. Other than that, ever forward, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good job. Crystal.
I feel like a broken record because I just keep telling you that we're working on text amendments to get our zoning and subdivision regulations in shape. However, that's what we're doing. We've got a couple of them that are going to the planning commission next week. So obviously we're prepared for planning commission. We also have done substantial amount of research on several different projects that like history of projects throughout the city to try to resolve some questions about things. I'm sure there is more. I know there is more, but that is what we've been up to the last week or so.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Gene Miracle, Municipal Service Director. A couple quick updates. On the 27th of April, we held the mandatory pre-bid for the 2302 lift station, where we will be holding the public bid opening on May 17th here in the chambers at 2 p.m. Another thing, we are working with Leavenworth County on June 10th from 9 to noon on a household hazardous waste cleanup. It has been posted on our newsletter, our e-news, all of that information, and it will be held at the municipal services just adjacent to the city brush dump. But we are getting it out there. We've had really good turnout the last couple of years. We've done it with the county. So we look forward to having another good turnout.
Thanks, Gene.
Kathy or Maddie, either one?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have nothing at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items. Hopefully you've been able to see the sales tax videos that we posted on our website and on Facebook. We just are appreciative to the staff and our elected officials for joining in on that. This Friday's facts about the sales tax will feature our very own Gene Miracle and talk about roadway improvements. So please stay tuned for that. And again, just a plug for the community. If there are any HOAs or local community groups that would like to have a sales tax presentation and get some information and facts about sales tax, I'd be honored to do that. They can call City Hall at any time and I'd be happy to work around their schedules. We are in the thick of our fiscal year audit for 2022. So we'll be excited to present the results of that sometime in June. And then lastly, I just wanted to share with the council a very probably the most heartfelt and heartwarming email that I've ever received in my career of public service. Sometimes we get some emails that aren't as exciting or nice or heartfelt as this one. But through the course of negotiating easements, of course, we got to know these people and their families and sitting in their living rooms and talk about the project. And One of the families was an older gentleman and his two daughters had power of attorney for him because he was elderly and actually had to be relocated to a senior facility. He had lived in his home since 1978. So I emailed that family after we had the discussion about who's going to maintain the multi-use paths and told them, great news, this is what we're going to do. The city's going to maintain those. That's, one less worry, and just thank you for your work on and working with the city. And the email that I got back very shortly later said that the gentleman, the owner, the father had passed away, and that he just would have been proud of all the things that are happening in the community. And that really honestly took my breath away. That the family took that time, during their grief to email me back and let them know how proud they are of this council, this mayor, and everything that's happening. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
That's
so
great.
much. Cameron. Ah.
Well, I don't know.
I'll keep it very brief. As Crystal said, we've been diving into the history of Baser and just really finding out all of the little details that happened back in the day. We are also going through the zoning code actively to update that as soon as we can. And then mainly just, housekeeping items, trying to update applications, our standard forms and whatnot. So, and then we also received our first application for assistance programs today.
Oh,
So very excited to hear that. And that's it.
Great. Thank you. Maria?
Thank you. Related to the easement topic that Maddie brought up, Maddie and I attended district court yesterday in Leavenworth County on the city's petition for condemnation. As you recall, the city did acquire voluntarily 52 out of 57 easements, and the ones that were not obtained are subject to the city's petition. The court reviewed the city's petition and approved this process going forward. And so the next step is that there will be an appraiser's hearing that will take place on June 16th. At that time, 3 disinterested appraisers that are appointed by the court will appear at the properties to view it and then give their opinion on the value of the property. So I just wanted to update the council that item is moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Last but least, no, I guess Chrissy, is Chrissy on the line? She's not, okay. And Leslie. What's up? Thank you. Okay, moving on, council members report. Vernon.
I have nothing.
2 shocks in a row. Sherry?
I have a few things. Okay, on April 11th, myself and some of the staff attended the Panasonic plant meeting at KU Lawrence. That's for the Astra Enterprise Park. It was very interesting. And then that evening, I attended the Planning Commission meeting to learn about many of the topics that we've got going on here in the city. April 13th, attended the sales tax meeting, the first one. It was an excellent meeting. And then also went to the Leavenworth County Economic Development meeting that day at noon. And then that morning, we also, I guess it was a busy day. We actually went and had breakfast. There was a group of us at the Leavenworth Child Abuse Council, and that was at the Heritage Center. That was a great turnout. April 19th, myself and some staff met with some local residents that wanted to talk about economic development. And so we met there at the Baser Library. Today, we had city council retreat to start talking 2024 budget and economic development. I thought it was a great meeting, a lot of good dialogue to get started. And then tomorrow, I will be here to shoot my video. I don't know if I can top Jean. So we'll see what interesting video I can do. So thanks.
Thank you. Again.
First, just want to thank city staff for today. That was wonderful. Great retreat. Is that my 4th or 5th retreat? But I'm going to tell you that's the best dialogue. So I want to thank all of you because, without you guys, that dialogue would not have happened. And I really appreciate all of you guys putting in your input, because from each one of you, I learned a little bit and kind of modified, even my thought process through some of it a little bit. So thank you guys for it. That was a great way to spend the day. I know it was a long day and I know it's still shut up here for a second, but I think it was really great. Good job, guys.
Yeah, agreed. I appreciate all the time that went into preparing for that. And then again, the dialogue I think was great.
Okay, moving on, mayor's report. I'm gonna start out with just the 14 years that I've been involved in the city. It was by far the very best retreat I've ever been involved in. That was good communication. Everybody got involved. And I think we all learned a lot on top of everything else. So kudos. I want to reiterate what Vernon said earlier, that how great of a job the staff did putting this together. And again, you guys make us look good, and I appreciate that. In August, I'm working with Leslie. We're going to try to have a citywide event for shredding. And it will come out in the newsletter, I don't know if we're gonna do 2 hours yet, or 3 hours, or 3 hours probably. If you come up, anything you want to have shredded as far as paperwork and everything, you can bring it up here. You'll have to show your address, and so we can make sure, it's Basehor residents only, but it's going to be free to the Basehor residents. We're going to pay for it for that day. So I think that's a good thing. And I think that's all I got. Thank you. So we have need for executive session. Oh, God.
That's it.
Yeah. No executive session, good. Then I call for a motion for adjournment.
So Maria, can I say now? So moved. Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Second, and a second. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Maria, thank you for keeping us.
Yeah.